This meeting, the Tyler Metropolitan Planning Organization looked at crash statistics from 2023. KLTV7's JD Conti was at that meeting and has the numbers, which are beating most of the state, but not in a good way.
Being in the top spot for something like that is not what we aim for.
Jeff Williford is a TxDOT spokesman. The Tyler Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, is responsible for future planning in Tyler and surrounding cities in Smith County. They're planning on a future with less crashes. This past meeting, the board looked at numbers from 2023. 2024's are not yet final. MPO Director Michael Howell says driver behavior was the leading cause for crashes across the board.
Speeding, that could be distracted driving, drunk driving, driving without a seatbelt.
The MPO saw over 5,000 crashes in 2023. 60 of those were fatal. That's well over double the rate compared to areas across the state, at 2.36 crashes per 100 million miles driven.
A lot of our fatal crashes are 100% preventable.
Rural accidents accounted for 74% of fatal accidents in the TxDOT Tyler district, which includes Smith and surrounding counties. Williford says they're working on making those routes safer.
LED chevrons that you may have seen on farm-to-market roads where there's a lot of curves. They're those lights that light up as cars approaches to warn you that there's a curve coming.
The most wrecks were on South Broadway and Highway 69, with almost 1,000 crashes.
There's really nothing that can be done to try to engineer your way out of something that is a driver behavior. So we are seeing the best recourse is to try to share this information with the public to try to get that behavioral change.
JD Conti, KLTV7 News.
Now, 21% of the drivers involved in the crashes were ages 18 through 24, and that's more than 1,000 crashes.